Have you ever called 911? If so, was it scary? Did you feel like you needed help in a situation you couldn't take care of yourself? If so, this is the story of the responders who serve and protect people every day. Hello, my name is Emma Millar, and today we are going to be talking about those first responders and what their job entails. Being a first responder requires both physical training and mental training to be prepared for any situation possible. Paramedics are trained to give medical and trauma care to each call that they get. They can create differentials for doctors that will receive the patient next. When they do pull up to the call, they are responsible for keeping the patient alive and safe until they enter the hospital. If the patient is flatlined, they are the ones who revive the person on scene. Call after call, they experience high-risk situations that could disrupt their normal lives after going home from work. Trauma can mean multiple things in the field, such as wounds, mental imbalances, critical calls, and life-threatening occurrences to multiple people. These people see their patients on the worst day of their lives and decide to dedicate their own lives to help those in need. We can also talk about what happens to their mental health after going through a traumatic experience. These first responders deal with a lot of high-risk situations that can lead to a decrease in their personal mental health. They see things no normal person could ever imagine seeing: children dying, suicide, amputations, screaming and grieving family members, death, and so much more. This can impact a person's view on life and create PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, in the responder. If the responder relates to a patient or they remind them of a loved one, they will experience high stress in their normal life and become obsessed with protecting the people that they love. From increased situational and workplace stress, there have been high rates of suicide within first responders due to high trauma they receive from their job. Sometimes the feelings of seeing something so traumatic will lead them down a dark path, with feeling guilty for being alive or the feeling of life being without purpose. A peer review by Sharon Lawn conducted a recent study in Canada, reviewed 27 international studies, and found a prevalence of high mental health risks on 30,878 ambulance personnel. There were prevalent rates of 11% PTSD, 15% depression, 15% for anxiety, and 27% for general psychological distress among other first responder personnel, such as dispatchers, firefighters, paramedics, and police officers. Apart from physiological impact, ambulance work exposed workers to a lot of occupational stress on their body, such as sleep disruption, musculoskeletal injuries, weight gain, fatigue, and in some cases, exposure to dangerous pathogens. The Journal of Emergency Medical Services writes that when a responder runs a traumatic call, they are usually filled with adrenaline as a natural defense when handling a serious situation. Like all hormones and chemicals, adrenaline usually fades away after time has passed. When it does wear off, that is where the aftermath of a flood of emotions start to flow and stress starts to build. This is referred to as cumulative stress, when a person becomes a ticking time bomb for depression. In a lot of situations, many people decide to cope with their trauma through humor and rely on their work family to keep them sane and comforted. These strong relationships within the workforce strengthen their mental health, but is truly needed after a traumatic experience. There have been multiple resources that have been created to help with these situations, which leads to my next point: why first responders should receive better pay. Since this job creates so much backlash for the person working it, they should receive better pay and better hours. The number of people who have been entering this field of practice have been decreasing due to poor hours and poor wages. First responders risk their lives and mental health to help other people and are doing it constantly. The stress and amount of effort and the long hours can become tedious, and a lot of people won't want to continue doing it if they aren't compensated. They deserve so much more, and these statistics prove it. If this continues, who will be the ones to do it? Who will be the responders to save lives and take them to life-saving medical care? With this economy and inflation that is still rising, how can these people possibly be able to do their jobs without becoming financially unstable? As for the people listening to this, I think we should all appreciate the people who serve our communities by doing whatever it takes to save lives. Not only do these people represent something life-saving, they also represent hope in mankind. These are the people we turn to when things go bad, and they deserve a higher salary than what they currently have. They keep the community and families alive. As a former first responder, I have seen firsthand how kind these people are and truly hope that one day they will receive what they deserve.